Welcome to Anatomy of a Scene, a podcast where the people behind French film and TV walk us through their creative process. Episode 5, Production Designer, Building Worlds in Studio and on Location. A podcast commissioned by Unifrance. In this episode, we talked to Riton Dupire-Clément. Riton has worked on various feature films such as Lost Illusions by Xavier Giannoli, The Truth by Hirokazu Koreeda, and Camille Claudel 1915 by Bruno Dumont. He shared his insight and anecdotes about his work on the TV series d'Argent et de Sang, Of Money and Blood in English, directed by Xavier Giannoli, where all the scenes were shot on real locations. We also spoke to Emmanuelle Duplay. Emmanuelle welcomed us into her studio in Paris. She's been a production designer for over 30 years and has worked on films such as BPM by Robin Campillo, Anatomy of a Fall by Justine Triet, and Alpha by Julia Ducournau. In this interview, she talks about her work on Emilia, Pérez, directed by Jacques Audiard, a film that was shot entirely in a studio.
My name is Riton Dupire-Clément. I'm a production designer and I worked for TV series d'Argent et de Sang by Xavier Giannoli, who is a director with whom I worked already for 2 long feature movies. I started that job about 35 years ago, starting as a painter. And then I became assistant art director, and then about a little bit more than 20 years ago, as a production designer. My job is to design sets, of course, and that means reading scripts and then trying to find moods, places, everything that fits the best to the script, and having a team with me, a crew, and building all those sets for the movie. So we are going to talk about d'Argent et de Sang, made by Xavier Giannoli, and especially about a set which is the flat where one of the heroes lives with his family. That guy is a very wealthy guy. He works in the financial field, and he owns and lives in a very big flat, which is a duplex. I don't know if it's the name in English. 2 different floors. We are on a very, very wealthy world, so we have to describe it and we have to introduce the spectators to that kind of environment. Okay, the first thing is we have to find some places. If you don't work on studio, if you don't build sets on studio, you have to find places on natural places in Paris or wherever. So you've got some people that we call repéreurs, scouters in English, and we give them informations, what we need exactly for the sets, and they give us some propositions. So we finally found that place, which is a place in Paris, at the very top flat of an hotel in Paris. And when we visited it, we thought that this would be the good place to make the set, actually. We wanted something which was out of any commonplace. So when we arrived there is a lift that arrives directly on the flat. First thing, it's something that marks like a wealthy apartment. And then a huge place, a duplex, and the bathroom is incredible with all those mirrors. So everything would fit, actually. We thought that this would be really, really very interesting place. To design a set to reflect a social class, you have to think about, especially about the characters who live in the set, in the flat. You have to think about what is meaning their social class, what are the specificities, and then you have to bring things that give to people that idea, even if it's only ideas of that social class. The balancing between some flashy stuff and subtle things was a real question about the character Jérôme Mathias, who is someone wealthy, but carrying as well some vulgarity. So we had to make it very balanced. That wasn't easy. So we wanted to have some very, very explicit informations, like a piece of art, for example, something that you could recognize very easily, like a painting by Basquiat. As you may know, the characters are based on a true story, and we knew that one of the characters, which is the same, adds a piece of art from Basquiat. Basquiat is very well known. Everybody knows that it costs a lot. Actually, the character Jérôme Mathias is not very fond on arts. It's having piece of art means I'm wealthy. It's subtle, but the meaning is not subtle. The meaning is kind of vulgar. And we wanted to have something flashy, shiny, because it means as well being wealthy. So we put in the closet, at the end of the closet in the bathroom, which is surrounded by mirrors, we put a big photograph of Jérôme Mathias, which is something like egocentric, you know. At the very beginning, I wanted to have it near the elevator. When the people would arrive at the apartment, there would be that huge photograph of Mathias that would be welcoming people. And when I went to the bathroom and I saw all those mirrors, I thought that it would be better to have it at the end of the closets with all the photos being in mirrors, you know, like this. So on that part of the apartment, it was just like this. This is the real closets of the bathroom. We just put a photograph at the end of it. So
the apartment looked like this?
Mainly, but we got a lot of furnitures, and especially, for example, in the office of Jérôme Mathias, which was a kid bedroom at the beginning. So we redesigned it totally from the ceiling to the floor and all the furnitures. And we designed a carpet and a desk and so on. And there are a lot of things as well in the apartment that were changed to fit our characters. To have a set looking like real life, I would say. I mean, this is the main point of a set, which is, to my point of view, a good set is not a nice set, but something which seems real, something which is sharp, I would say. What is important to me is that the work seems invisible. I mean, a perfect set is the one you don't notice. What of the best thing that I can hear is someone saying that the work is seamless. So, for example, in that flat, you have to bring a little amount of little things. That means that you're not on a set, but you are at someone places. So like mails, food, papers, keys, cell phone, clothes, medics, everything that you just have at on your own place. And at the end of a shooting, of course, we have to rebuild or bring back the place at the same statement as it was when we came. So repaint, you take all the furnitures off and so on. That's the way we do for any set, any movie. It's part of the job.
My name is Emmanuelle Duplay. I'm a production designer on the film of Jacques Audiard, Emilia, Pérez. So I'm an architect, and doing production design is in fact created spaces for fiction instead of create spaces in reality. Production design is also to give a color to a film, of course with the DOP and the director. Our job is to participate to the global image of the film. The team depends of the kind of movie I'm working on. On Emilia, Pérez, of course, it was a really huge work because we built so many sets in studio. So the team was really big, around 100 person. All kind of job like constructor, painters, sculptors. and also people who were making the sets. So it depends completely on the project. The scene that we are talking about today is the first scene where we see Emilia's house, and also it's the first time that the family of Emilia is coming back in Mexico, and they are going to see this woman, Emilia, and they must not realize that she is Manitas. So they hang each other. Normally the spectator is really expecting, are they going to realize that she is Manitas or not? So there is a little bit tension in this scene. In fact, in the whole movie, Emilia's house was made in 3 different stages. One stage was for the outside, with a garden and the entrance. One stage was the room of the children's and the room of Jessie. And this stage was the salon and the kitchen, structured by this huge stair. My inspiration was Luis Barragan, this really famous Mexican architect. And that was the basis of the reflection for this space. The stairs is really important, and this fuchsia walls where she is climbing up, that was really designed also for the way of that Jack wanted to make the scene, that she had to climb and to bring all her family up to show them their rooms. This salon is created around these big stairs. She have a lot of money, but we didn't want to make a bling-bling place. We wanted to make something sophisticated and with culture of Mexico. The choice of furniture has been made with Cécile Deleu, my set designer. We choose together the direction of colors and texture for the furniture to give a kind of intemporal feeling of the space, and also maybe more international feeling of the furniture and accessories. In fact, Jacques wanted that Emilia, in her transition, change completely her relationship to the world and to the culture. In fact, as an architect, I always begin by making plans and drawing the spaces. Doing this house in studio allowed us to be nearer what Jacques wanted to do for her direction of actors. So generally, I always begin by drawing a plan. And in this specific base of the salon, of Emilia's house, there was also connection with the outside. So there was a huge window and backdrop, really big backdrop, with the beginning of a garden with cactus and things. We completely designed this backdrop of Mexico City night and day. In studio, you can build anything you want, and it's an empty space, and then you build everything. When I work in studio, it's not real materials. Everything is made out of wood. The basis is the wood, and then we add texture that it look as we want. The painter are making the texture of the walls. For this big house, we work a lot on the color of the floors, and we fabric especially for that huge tiles, but of course with wood, and that the painter has textured to make that it look like huge tiles. One of a part of Emilia's house was Jessie's room, who has been built in another stage. But what was interesting is there was this dance scene when she's coming from her room, going to a really abstract place, completely black, with light in the shower. And in fact, this was shot completely indirect. We had the possibility to open the walls of the room, one wall of the room, and she was passing directly from her room to this black abstract space. I must say that in terms of production design, it's always really interesting to work in studio. The studio allowed the reflection between director, DOP, and production designer to create spaces that correspond exactly to what they want to film. And that is really interesting in the preparation of a movie. In real set, we adapt it. In studio, we can create all together something who really correspond to what we want.
This episode was produced by Jeanne Boezek, editing and mixing by Fanny Martin and Jeanne Delplanque.
Original music composed by Fanny Martin.
This podcast is commissioned by Unifrance. This episode is part of a series. Listen to all the episodes wherever you get your podcast. It's our last episode. Thank you for listening.